Hello guys and welcome here from the Major TV studio for Nice to Meet You Conductor. Today a very special guest, the Maestro David Whitwell. Maestro Whitwell performed all over the world. Maestro Whitwell has been as guest professor in 100 different universities and he conducts a lot of orchestra. Warm welcome to David Whitwell. Hello David.
Thank you very much. And I want to say I appreciate the work you're doing in Milano. You must be one of the few television programs that really helps to improve classical music, for the listeners. And so you're doing a wonderful job there.
Thank you so much, dear David. So I would like to start with the first question, and congratulations, of course, for your career and for the things you do. Our audience is always curious to know more about the role of the conductor. What are the requirements for dealing with this profession?
Well, first of all, I think I have to define music. Music is a special language for communicating feeling. It's something that language doesn't do very well by itself. If you have a friend or a mother that you love, your feelings are very profound, very clear, but if you try to write on paper, language doesn't really express it very well. And that's what music does. Now, the strange thing is that even though we're 1,000 years later from the birth of notation, we do not have a single symbol, not one, that expresses feeling in music notation. And so the main role of the conductor is to bring the things that are not on paper to the rehearsal.
Yeah.
And this is, from an audience standpoint, the person in the audience goes to a concert, they see a conductor, maybe 100 musicians on the stage. Most people in the audience think that what a conductor does is just keep everybody together, and that's very impressive to someone who's a manager of a bank branch or a small company. He has 20 employees. He can never get them to do anything together. So he sees a conductor making 100 people do precisely. That's very impressive to the normal person.
Absolutely. But you're specialized in wind band. What is different from a traditional orchestra?
Well, I was just going to say, if you're conducting, let's say, the La Scala Orchestra, then you have a number of musicians on the stage, and every one of them is a great musician. Every one of them is highly trained. Every one of them is intelligent. But still, it's the conductor that brings the things that are not on paper. If you're a member of La Scala Orchestra, let's say a bassoon player, you have a very small view of the music from the bassoon part. And the conductor has the score. He can see the whole thing. And so even with fine players, conductors are necessary to bring everybody together. And the difficult thing is the conductor has to do this without talking. He has to do this just with his face, his eyes, his gestures, and a kind of mental telepathy. But he can't talk because you can't express these things in words. So that's the real role, is what he brings to the rehearsal.
Besides being a conductor, you're also a popularizer and essayist. Your books are really interesting, and I was very impressed by the book Psychological Problems in Conducting, where you illustrate some of the fundamental points of the profession of the conductor. Can you tell us something more?
This is related to what I was just talking about. I'm sure most of your listeners are aware that after many years of brain research, we know we have two hemispheres inside our brain. The official names is left side and right side. And the left brain is a library of data, numbers, words, dictionaries. The right brain is a library of our experience, including feelings, emotions, and so forth. In addition, the left hemisphere is past tense. Everything in the left brain is past tense. It's what someone else wrote, someone else said. The right hemisphere is the real us, because everything there is our feelings. And so a word like pain or love is in a dictionary, left brain. But what it really means to us, a word like pain, is the experiences we've had with pain. That's what defines what pain is, or with love. This book, what I emphasize is how the conductor learns to take the right side feelings and turn it into music. And that is really the difficult challenge.
I suggest this book to our audience. It's really interesting, even if they are not a conductor, but it's very interesting. I have a book here that you wrote, Extraordinary Women, and you gave to me with your special signatures inside with a dedication. It's another great book, David, because you write book on orchestra and music, but also historical books.
That book was a result of a number of years of writing about music history. And I kept finding these stories about women that never appear anywhere else. So I started keeping a list of them, and it turned into this book. And I eventually felt that when I was finished, that it would be possible to write a history of Western Europe, except for composers and painters. Otherwise, you could write a history of Western Europe and only talk about the women.
It's a very beautiful book, and I suggest also to our audience to read this book. And also, I read another interesting essay you've written about music and how nowadays it's played, because you talk about the difference from the score to the sound. There are a lot of many interesting things you describe as well in Mozart's famous Basso Albertino. In the fact that often the music is only written, and it's so different when a musician has to play it from symbol to sound. Could you please tell us something more about it?
This gets into the whole area of individual experience, If you're working with the La Scala Orchestra, you have to find something that is understood by all the people, even though, and this is the great power of music. Music is understood both on a general level and on an individual level. And this was a big point that Wagner made one time, where he says, you play something on the stage and it maybe has a general feeling of sadness or something, but to the audience, every person hears something a little different, Yeah. So music is heard on a general level and on an individual level. And that's really the source of the power of music. So.
Absolutely. What is a moment in your career that you still remember with emotion and that has remained in your heart?
Well, that's pretty hard to... It's been a very long career, and of course, your experiences are different when you're 25 than they are when you're 75. So that's a pretty hard question. Let me just address one thing that's related to this. The real problem in the study of music is that we only study what's on paper, the left brain part. we only study in school half of what music is. No music classes talk about feelings. They only talk about what you see on paper. And it gives the impression to the student that music is for the eye. But everybody, all of your listeners understand that that's not true. Music is for the ear. It's the wrong sense. And so the way we teach music is like telling a student, well, tomorrow let's go to the museum and smell some paintings. It's the wrong sense,
Yeah,
So in school, you don't learn the important things about music. You have to, over your lifetime, you have to figure this out for yourself from your own experiences. And that takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, David, where can we see your work on the web, your website, and where we can find your amazing books?
Well, there is one publisher actually in Australia.
Wow.
Where he has a site that has all of my own music, including 9 symphonies, as well as my books, and also some essays that have never been published. So that's they're like all university people. We don't have much exposure to the commercial side, so there's no publisher or that has everything. So all I can do is, if someone is interested, they can probably contact you, and you can give them the address of the site where they can look for my things. So.
Okay, we'll publish it at the end of this interview. You can find the link. Thanks a lot to Maestro David Whitwell for this interesting interview and for all the support you give to the Major TV. You're a super fans. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, Lita. Bye-bye.
Bye.